you're going to see a big division between the haves and the have-nots. When the white Huns are being bribed to leave the Sassanids alone, it's not the upper classes that make the sacrifices. They're going to squeeze the lower classes. So now, fast forward to the 520s AD and to one of the great revolutionaries that most people never heard of, Mazdak. The 520s. Mazdak. And we don't know a lot about him except we know that he was a former Mobed. Okay, he was a former Mobed. And this is what he believes. He believes that he's living in a time in which evil predominates because of competition and inequitable redistribution of resources. He believes that he's living in a time of evil because of competition and inequitable distribution of resources. Okay? First of all, I'm going to tell you what he's against right off the bat. Number one, he's against grinding fiscal extortion in the form of high taxes. He's against grinding fiscal extortion in the form of high taxes. Number two, he's against the involuntary transfer of land. He's against the involuntary transfer of land from cultivators to land holders. And I'll explain to you what that is. Remember the oppressed Iranian peasantry we're talking about under the Sassanids. They were oppressed, but the land that they worked was technically theirs. Okay? Now, in the food shortage, what would you expect prices to be for food? High or low? Very high. Okay? So you would think the cultivators would make off well from the fact that there were high prices for their crops. The nobles had the money, but they didn't want to. So what they basically did was they decided to increase taxes on the farmers, and when they could not pay these high taxes, they confiscated their land. They used that as an excuse to confiscate their land. It's a shell game. Does everyone understand? Are we good?
I'm sorry.
That's okay, no need to be sorry, Pamela. We're still friends.
Before Mazdak came, we're saying this is what we call.
That's exactly what's happened. That's a socioeconomic milieu. Okay? And Tracy? I can't hear you, Tracy. Speak up. The nobles would have liked to make sure that they get whatever they want for free. They want other people to pay taxes. Okay? What they're going to do is they're going to put the tax burden on the city dwellers who are already experiencing a certain amount of angst over high food prices. After they basically found the way in which to take the land away from the peasant cultivator by giving them such high taxes that they wouldn't be able to afford the taxes, and when they use their land as collateral and say you can't pay your taxes, we're taking your land. So right off the bat, that's why I mean by involuntary transfer of land. Ken? He was a former Mobed, a former Zoroastrian priest. Okay? Now, the next thing he's against. He doesn't like basically free aristocratic privilege. He wants to curtail aristocratic privilege. Now I'm going to tell you what I mean by curtailing aristocratic privilege. There are two things that come to mind. Number one, are there large estates that the nobles own? To Mazdak, this is inequitable, unfair. Most people now don't even have land, and you have more land than you could ever hope to utilize. what gives you the right to commandeer all this land and leave other people without a way to feed themselves there? Yes. And it's going to be communistic in another way. The other thing that Mazdak wants to share is not just land but women. Okay? First of all, like most elites, like the Chinese emperor, okay, like later on Muslim colleagues and rulers, they will have harems, which are basically, in effect, areas in which many wives and concubines. Concubine is a woman that you don't marry, but you have sexual conquest. Okay? Mazdak is saying you're hogging up all the women. Okay? One guy shouldn't have 300 women. We have men that are not married, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to marry because you're taking all the women for yourself. How many women could you sleep with in one night? This is free Viagra. Okay? So in effect, he's going to basically ask for the harem to be emptied out, and that basically the rulers keep their marriages minimal. Okay? Yes? Okay, that's what he wants to do. We didn't say that he's going to do it. No. It's just a moment. Right. Okay, so I don't want you to think he's like Artia or Tansaw. No, he wouldn't be. Because if he goes that far, he'd be basically under the grip of the Shah himself. Okay? Mazdak is a lower mobile, feels like the people do. He's suffering like they are. And he's in touch with the pulse of the public. And Alan had a question. And Josh had a question.
We were discussing Magi. Can you remind me what the Mobeds were?
A Mobed is an individual Zoroastrian priest. When you think of the Magi, you think of them collectively. Okay? Now, first of all, what Mazdak wants is he wants land and material goods distributed equally. That's the communistic aspect of his movement. And he demands that the nobles open their granaries to the common people, because nobles basically have granaries that they use for themselves. Open them to the common people. Don't hold all this food for yourself, you pigs. You know, where the people are starving, help us out. And he's also going to demand that the nobles relinquish their wives, some of their wives and concubines to the peasants. Okay? Yes, Alan? Well, certain ones. Look, take a look at the Catholic Church, for an example. A priest could live as simply as a congregation in the area of urban life. So if a priest is in comfort, he's going to live like the people in comfort with a very poor socioeconomic level. Okay? If he's in the slums of Calcutta, okay, the same thing. It depends. Not all Mobeds participate in largesse. The ones that do are the ones that tend to be in the upper hierarchy, and those are the ones that are associated with the government. You could be sure that if Bāmdād were in the government circle, he would probably not think this. He's arguing for this type of change because he's living among people that are suffering, like he's suffering. Okay? So they have a common cause, and he sees himself as an arrow of righteousness against entrenched, selfish privilege. Okay? Now, what Mazdak is going to do is he's going to get a movement together, and originally, and you'll find this interesting, originally he's supported by the Shah, who at this time is Bāmdād. And to make it easy, I'll give you some dates for Bāmdād's rule. Bāmdād is interesting, okay? Bāmdād rules Iran from 488 to 496. That was, of course, before Mazdak, and he's going to rule from 499 to 431. So he's going to rule from 488 to 496 and from 499 to 531. The reason why he doesn't rule from 496 to 499 is he's actually going to be deposed in a revolt. He's going to be deposed in a revolt by a noble and magi coalition. He's originally deposed by a coalition of nobles and magi, and we'll get back to Mazdak in a second. Okay, so he's going to be deposed by a noble magi coalition, and then he is restored to power by the White Huns. So Bāmdād is deposed originally by a noble magi coalition. Why? Because Bāmdād wanted to be a strong ruler, and neither the magi nor the nobles basically wanted this. With the White Huns, when he had fled to the White Huns would basically say, you know what, you want to rule, we don't normally like strong rulers, but we're giving you refuge. If we put you back on the throne, will you give us extra goodies? He said yes. And that's what's actually caused so many. These incredible land grab and greed. Because when Bāmdād comes back, it's going to have to pay the Roman war for putting them back in power. And that's what's going to make people angry. That's what's going to begin to make them upset, because now their taxes are higher and everything like that. Now, here's the deal. Mazdak has a lot of followers, and they begin to basically disrupt tax flow, military obligations, and Bāmdād, around 525, is going to invite Mazdak, who he originally supported, to a meeting with him to iron out his ideas. 525. When Mazdak is brought to the conference, Mazdak will be captured and tortured to death, as his followers will be. And all Mazdakite literature, Mazdakite meaning the followers of Mazdak, all Mazdakite literature will be burned, and any Mazdakite followers are going to flee to the steppes and deserts of Central Asia. Notice Central Asia is a safety valve for the Manichaeans and for the Mazdakites. So the Mazdakites are going to flee to the steppes and deserts of Central Asia, bringing their social protests with them, but very far from Iran. Sure, Mazdakites will flee to the steppes and deserts of Central Asia to escape, of course, what would be murderous retaliation against them. They're going to disrupt military conscription, any type of military obligations, because they're not going to fight for the state with their hands, right? So basically that's what you have here. Now, that would be the Shah himself. Okay, Bāmdād. It might have confiscated by the Saxon instead. Right. That's right. That's correct. That's correct. Whatever is left behind. Of course, the Mazdakites are going to try to leave with whatever they can take with it. because you can't take a house with you, right? They didn't have mobile homes. Now, basically,
Aren't there all kinds of huns and Mongols on those steps?
yes, there are. But believe me, if you're facing a particular enemy that wants to kill you, listen, if somebody's chasing me with a gun, I'm running into a swamp, I'm not going to think I'm going to get eaten by an alligator. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. The immediate threat is what you get away from. You deal with it as you can. Remember that they're going to be murdered here, so they got to help get them out.
What happens when they go into there?
Into Central Asia? Well, some will starve to death, others will survive, and they'll live out as pocket communities. But those that survive will at least live to see another day.
Yeah.
Of course, then what they hope for is at some point to be reintegrated into Iranian society once there's a more favorable socioeconomic and political situation. Okay? And basically, I want to conclude with this, and then I'll tell you about the okay? The son of Bāmdād is going to succeed, and his name is Zaradust the First. You may see it spelled differently. Okay, you may see it spelled, H-U. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to take away points on the spelling. His real name, and I don't want to have you remember this, Zaradust the First is easier to remember than Khusru Anushirwan. Anushirwan is Persian for the immortal soul. And when Zaradust the First comes to power, he's not exactly what you call a good family man. He's going to kill all of his brothers and their children, all of his nieces and nephews. So they basically can't claim power outside of him. He's going to marry the daughter, he will marry the daughter of a Turkish leader. And the reason why he marries the daughter of a Turkish leader is that he's going to join this Turkish leader in ousting the White Huns. He's going to join this Turkish leader in ousting the White Huns, which will be done. So basically, it's under the reign of Khosrow that the Hephthalites finally get thrown out of Iran. Okay? So that's where I wanted to end right